Power, Season 1, Episode 5. I felt like we went nowhere. We're going to talk about it here. Let's go.
Yay.
Yeah, yay. Welcome back to AsArt. My name is Nick, and I have Cha.Cha.Cherry here with me. She's a huge Lord of the Rings fans. Watch out, guys. She's read all the books. She's super nerdy when it comes to Lord of the Rings, so it'll be fun to hear her opinion on it. And we're going to talk about the most recent episode that just came out. She might mention some older stuff too, because it's her first time talking about it, but we've been covering the whole series here. Me and Kyle, Kyle, talking about all the different characters and stuff like that. And we're going to jump into it. So obviously, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of the show. You guys know Kyle likes the show a lot. He even claimed he liked it more than House of the Dragons at one point. We'll see with the most recent episodes if he's still on board with that statement. But Britt, where does this show stick for you? I know
That's a bold statement to say that you like it more than
I think
House of the Dragon.
I think it's going to be changing soon. But
wow. Well, I just binged it today. Like I watched the first 2 episodes and I wasn't really paying attention. I got a little bit bored the first time, so I just didn't watch it again. And then okay, let me jump back in. And so I binged through it. And I think it kind of reminds me more of a Netflix show. It doesn't feel like an Amazon show to me. It seems very like just a cruise. Like it's a good binge. It's a good binge watch. If you just kind of like The Witcher, the story doesn't really get better, but it's just there.
If you just want to look at pretty CGI, I guess.
Right.
I mean, it's so clean. It looks like a video game at times. It's so funny because like we're so used to Lord of the Rings and it was shot on like film.
Cinematic.
And you know what I mean? Like it has that graininess to it where this just looks so clean. Like it looks so clean.
I really like a lot of their opening shots for transitions, like with her on the horse and even the opening with like the Hobbit.
Oh,
whatever they were doing.
Hobo Baggins.
Yeah, when they had all the little costumes on, like the scarecrow things.
Oh,
like
and,
they looked
slow,
a little
slow
bit
motion. Oh, so yeah, you're on the last episode. Okay, yeah. The last that was a couple
those were some
ago.
cool shots. Like,
yes.
Oh, this is pretty. It's pretty thought out.
The shots and the cinematography is doing much more for the story than the story is.
Totally.
I feel like they're really having to go all out visually, and even with the music, like when the orcs were chasing the elf when he came back to save the kid from the well or whatever, it's like dramatic music, like it was so like emotional, but like really much wasn't really happening, and I wasn't really feeling for the characters enough where I was like, oh no, Helldeer's gonna die, like that's like you know what I mean? It's like, oh no, but it's like, no, I really don't care, and then they stand in sunlight where no one shoots them. But we're going to talk about this episode. I have some flaws with it, of course, as I always bring flaws to this thing, but we just got to talk about how we went nowhere. We ended episode 4 with we're going to sail, and we finally set sail in this episode with their army of only 3 ships. Like, what is that even going to do? This is Numenor. These are the men of Numenor. Aren't they all like 7 feet tall? They live longer than men. Like they're super strong. Like they're like like the Amazon women's, but like what I mean? Like they're strong people, right? And like they're known for beating Sauron in the books and bringing him back. Like, yo, you lost to us. You're gonna be in our jail cell. Like they kicked his butt. Like their army is like super strong. And when I saw only 3 ships leaving, I'm like, this is not the Numenors I imagined.
Well, weren't they all volunteers? So they're saying they could only get.
Where's their army? They should have an army.
3 ships full. But they had a volunteer on, I think, for that.
Which
like,
makes
the mission
no
that they're
sense,
on.
right? This makes no sense. Anyways, but yes, you're right. It could be a volunteer thing, and maybe maybe it's a whole thing with this, but I just thought it was very interesting how long it took us just to get on the ships. And
it seems like Lotr has a hard time getting anyone to volunteer to do anything with her.
Yes, because I mean she's tough, right? She's very bold, and she's very in your face, and even though she has like a mean attitude, she's like always like right, but because of the way she comes across, you just don't want to agree with her, even though like, yes, you should go, but it's like, hey, with the way this message is being pushed on us, I don't really even want to help. You know what I mean? It's just like
Right.
you go by yourself because and then what makes it worse for her character is she still ends up being right at the end, so she doesn't even get the humility part of being wrong. You know what I mean? Like even Gandalf was wrong. Like, oh, I trust my wizard friend with all the knowledge, and it backfires on him. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
even Gandalf, so it's like when someone just has the answers to everything, it's just like, come on. Like you gotta like fall a little bit. You gotta make us like you. We like heroes that have flaws. You know what I mean? Like Aragorn was a major flaw. You know what I mean? He didn't have any confidence in himself. What they're kind of doing with Halbrand, they're trying to
Right.
do the
Oh my
Aragorn story with him,
gosh.
which I still think he's Sauron. Anyways, um, I still believe he's Sauron, but it's just that really dragged out story that we're getting. Like nothing's really happening. They're at the tower. They say, give up, surrender, or else you're gonna die, and it's the same message at the end of this episode. Literally, nothing has happened, and they're just repeating the same things to us. Like they showed us again. Orcs don't survive in sunlight. He's like, let me see your arm. Yeah. And like he cooks his arm. He's like, he loves him
These
so
orcs
much.
are terrible. Oh my gosh. Like, and I've never really liked orcish culture
Oh,
per se. Anyways, like I've never really I know
so
some
you're never
people
a fan
really
of
get in.
the bad guys. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, I don't know because I do like I like Saruman,
Mm,
and like I'm pretty down for villains, but
yeah.
you just I didn't really care for their culture. That wasn't something I ever like
Mm,
collected pictures of lords.
yeah.
Like cool, but not something this. But what they're doing is worse than The Hobbit with their styles. I feel like we're watching
Mm.
Planet of the Apes
Oh,
instead of
interesting.
um orcs, or they
Oh.
seem too alienish too.
Or they're like they're too covered too, maybe. And I get it, like they're trying to hide from sunlight and stuff like that, but like it
Just wearing bags on top of their heads.
it still doesn't make sense because at times they can go out into the sun with stuff over their
Right.
heads, and there at times they can't. They're
Yeah.
not following their own rules. They're kind of
No.
establishing in this world, which is throwing me off. And I think the reason why he's like, let me see your arm burn, and he's like, look at the sun, because I think he's gonna have something to do with Mount Doom erupting, which is going to create the darkness for the orcs to live during daylight kind of
Yeah.
thing. So, and they completed the tunnel, but we don't know
They've
what
already
for
said
yet.
that.
I know.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, what's the tunnel for? Like, like we haven't got an answer yet. It's just like this tunnel. And where's all the dirt going that they're digging from this tunnel? Are they building Mount Doom? I don't know.
Yeah. It's so difficult to get through.
It's very tough
It's
to get
really
through.
hard. Yeah.
And we gotta okay, I'm just gonna talk about the Helm's Deep scenario we're getting. Right, they're at this fortress. Instead of running away, they're like deciding to stay there with no food. I don't know. It's not really making a lot of sense to me the way it's adding up. But there's this magical blade, which seems to only work when blood, and then it's like and it goes away once the blood runs out or something. But apparently there's a magical statue behind some leaves which tells us the stories of this blade. Like I hate when stuff just like sets up too easily
Too
like
easy.
that. It's just
Yeah.
like,
And
come
the
on.
resolutions too quickly. That's what makes you, at least that's what makes me feel like calling it a Netflix show. When the
Mm,
resolutions are so like within the one episode, the format, it's like, but I get it. It's a TV show. It's not a movie. And
yeah.
they need to draw it out.
Mm. It just feels like it's being too spilled out. Like at this point in
With
the
too little
story,
butter.
it's like 5 hours. So we're like into the second half of the Two Towers by now. And look how much has happened from that storyline to this. You know what I mean? Like if you obviously it's a movie, yes, I know that. But even if you just compare it to the Fellowship, which is 3 hours long,
Yeah.
so much more has happened
Three and a half.
and with character development. I
Yeah.
mean, we've probably only been with Boromir for a total of 10 minutes at this point, and he had a full story arc already. Like, no character had any story arc right now. It's just like everyone's still.
Well, I felt like this last episode reminded me of Return of the King. I felt like they were just paying homage to it, where it's like, oh, let's all get in our armor and
Ride down
sing.
slowly. Yeah.
Right, with the slow mo, the white, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is
I've seen this
too
before.
much.
Yeah. We've been here before. Right? It's like and there's so many shots like that too. Like we're getting the Helm's Deep shot, and then they're just really trying to play, even on like wordings of things too. You
Oh
can
my
really
gosh,
tell
like the
they're
what
wording
was it?
things.
Oh,
I
like
will cut
and
the
I shall
tree.
serve. I will right. I will do this too. Like, oh my lord.
It's so funny because they claim they don't want anything to do with Peter Jackson, but man, they're sure being influenced by Peter Jackson.
Oh my gosh, and that song with the Hobbit singing.
So that's Strider's riddle, right?
Hmm.
That Bilbo wrote, right? Those, those not all who wander are lost kind of thing. And that's the least favorite part of this whole show for me. The half-foots or
Hmm.
the Heartfoots. The Heartfoots are like my least favorite part. The best episode was the one when they weren't in it. Because like nothing happens with their story. I get Gandalf's with them,
I
but
feel
like
like nothing's happening to that young kid with that likes to always fight orcs. Um,
nothing's happening with anyone, right?
no.
Yeah, and it's and
Well,
I
Galadriel's about to go to Middle Earth.
yeah, she's about to do that.
Mm,
Where's her husband?
yeah.
Tell me, where's my
Where
husband?
is
I
he?
much desire to speak to him. But
I think though, if you're gonna watch a show, you have to approach it of not really trying to watch Lord of the Rings. If you're
so
gonna
it
watch it,
doesn't
like
feel
come at
like
it from a
Lord of the
different
Rings to you
approach.
then, right?
No,
So like
no,
you're saying they were better off just doing their own original fantasy series than doing Lord of the Rings.
right? Because that's what it feels like. It just feels like a BBC version. It feels a little Netflixy, and you could have just made up random races. If
Mm,
WoW can do it, then like you can
mm.
do it.
Yeah, and then they basically just wanted the name Lord of the Rings, hoping it would sell or people would watch because of the
Yeah,
title, basically.
because there's always little side stories that are pretty cool. Like I also, when I was younger, I read this thing called like The Ranger's Apprentice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's totally ripping off Aragorn and like a kid becoming an apprentice to a
Yeah.
ranger and what it means to be a ranger, which is
Mm.
cool. But it's just a fun little side book to read. That's what I feel like this show is. You can't come at it and be like, I want to see Lord of the Rings.
Because it's not Lord of the Rings.
Like you're using terminology and like yes, you're talking
But
about the land here.
the heart of it is not Lord of the Rings, though. Would you
No,
say? Yeah,
no.
like you know what I mean. Like, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. I totally get where you're coming from, big time. And it's so funny too, because like the orcs, I think are nicer than the Heartfoots. Like they actually like when the orc died, there was like they were like all kind and they're like doing this burial routine and stuff. And like the Heartfoots are like, we'll just let them leave and we
They
will
say
write
fall
them down
behind.
in a book. We will say their
Right.
names. It's like, what's like, and then I think there was even a line in this episode. She's like, let's take their wheels. It's like, whoa, 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 what the heck is going on here? These guys
I
are so
really don't
evil.
like that whole storyline
No,
either.
it's so
Um,
bad. It's so bad. And now we have the cult
and
following the Meteor Man.
no, like I think it's just so. And if that's supposed to be Gandalf, like you guys are not making him look very cool, and he's one of the coolest characters. So to
Yep.
me, making him look so
Lame.
like what's the right word?
Non-Istari.
No, I'm trying to think of a
Radagast. You're making him Radagast.
like what the whole like Gandalf good Gandalf. Like,
Yeah.
you're making him sound like.
And you know what's so funny too? So he's learning the language. He understands the sentence, but he'll have a question on what kill is. But she'll be like, like when a deer collapses and blah 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 blah. But he's like, kill? It's like this is not how this works.
He's making Gandalf sound so stupid.
If he is Gandalf, obviously it's the theory, but I mean, I think it's Gandalf because I don't know who else it would be because he loves the halflings or the hobbits. He's what's missing? He's not smoking. Maybe once he smokes, he gets the
He's
memory
just gonna
back.
like kick in
He's
the
just gonna
gear.
kick in. He's like, I am Gandalf the Grey. Is that what they call me?
That's what you have to do to enjoy the show. You just have to, smoke the best
Yep.
weed in the south side of the parley or whatever, and then you can get through the show.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, just smoke enough and like, oh, it's not so bad. Like it's chill now.
Maybe that's why all the hobbits are so angry and mean because they haven't found
None
their
of
weed
them
yet
have
in
found
Hobbiton.
cannabis yet.
They need to go to
None of them's
Hobbiton where
found
the
weed.
weed's at.
I can see that. That's a good theory. I could go with that.
Once they're high, they're gonna be nice. Trust me, it's gonna be great. They'll have birthday parties and
And it's like, so you guys just walk around in circles? Like, you guys are just
I know. It's so
walking through the
bad.
wilderness, like, oh yeah, but there's like orcs and all these big scary things.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't.
You would think living in a hole in the ground would be safer,
Right.
which they end up doing later on. And then we got to talk about Galadriel. She had a fight scene where she was teaching the recruits how to fight.
Yeah.
And
They're
obviously,
skilled.
point him or stab him with the pointy end right through there. I was like, okay, this is your advice? Like, what is going on here? She's supposed to be a warrior person.
Yeah.
I think Aragorn and Boromir gave better advice to the hobbits when they were like
Ha, 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 ha.
when they were waiting to go in. Anyways, here or there. But then she's like, she starts fighting all the guys, and she's doing the dancing, and it looks like a lot of poles are hiding her movements and like the camera work and all that stuff. But then she says some stupid stuff while she's fighting. She's like, don't or use your feet, but it's like, no, you should also use your arms if you're fighting with a sword.
Use them legs. Use them legs.
Oh yeah, I'm like, but shouldn't you use your arms? And then she said something like, strength is not a way to kill an orc. And then in my head, I thought about Aragorn fighting the Uruk-hai. I'm like, it was all strength at that point. Like, there was no way.
Another repeat shot of all the orcs running through the trees.
Yeah. Yeah. But like Aragorn, when he's fighting Yerks or whatever, the
Uruk-hais.
yeah. And remember, it was like you needed strength. He was already winded and tired. It was such a good, but it's like, yes, strength is part of fighting. Like, yes, you have to use strength. Yes, I get it. Like, you can try being karate and like use the energy against him, but this is Middle Earth. There's no such thing as karate at this point.
It makes me want to watch the ending of The Fellowship. That is such a great scene.
Oh, it's amazing. Every
Yeah.
scene from Lord of the Rings is like a great
Perfect.
iconic scene. It's so funny because like
Perfect film.
it's the best trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's so funny because when you think of it, you're like, oh, I can't think of the worst one. They're all the best. Like you're thinking about which one's the best, not which one's the worst. That's how great of a trilogy it is. It's like, which one's the best? And then Men of Numenor. Oh, there was only 500 men going, and then a boat blows up. Which I don't know. Oil. Does that mean they hunt whales? At the time, Numenor, and then. Yeah, we have the political stuff going on. I mean, obviously we know Saruman is what causes the political stuff, which causes them to want to sail to the Undying Lands, and that's when Numenor gets flooded and wiped out, right? Because that's like them, because Sauron tricks them, and then we have, I think, the stupidest story about how Mithril was made. I mean, did we even need to know? Do we even need to know why Mithril's being made? Like, we don't need to know. I mean, the only part of Mithril, the whole reason why it's written in the books, basically, is so like Frodo has armor that can be light and like on him. You know what I mean? That's probably why he created it, even though he is a world builder. But that was like the main use of it. You know what I mean? It's like, so Frodo has a safety net when he's going to Moria or something like that, or to Mordor, and it's. I don't understand why we have to know about Mithril, and they made up the whole thing. And you know what's funny? That's my favorite part right now. Elrond and Durin. That's my favorite part.
Really?
I think the friendship's the nicest thing we have going on, basically, when it comes to fun. I'm like, I smile and chuckle at parts like that. Like, give me the meat raw or something like that. It's like, give it to me raw.
Betray my friend.
Betray him. Oh yeah, the oath on the, which is cool, the oath, because we know how oaths work in this world. When you make an oath, you're like, yeah, even though the oath doesn't mean anything in the next episode, like everyone knows about Mithril, so it's like, did he break the oath? Like, what's going on here? It did not make any sense. Oh, it's so bad. And then what's his name? Who's the high elf again? His name's
Elrond?
Glorfin or the one that's in charge of Elrond. He's like the king elf. I don't know. Why are they making the elves seem so shady in this story?
Well, the wood elves are kind of shady.
But these aren't wood elves. These are high elves. This is the guy, the forged the rings of power. Like, he's a skilled craftsman, craftsman and stuff like that. And it's just so weird. Like, I just don't know why they're making us hate the elves, why they're making us hate the Heartfoots. Like at this point, I'm rooting for the orcs. I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like I just don't know. I'm sorry. I'm complaining a lot here. Obviously, you can tell it grinds my gears.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's not really too much more to enjoy. Like that's great that Kyle can be so excited.
I know. I feel
about it,
great
but
for
it's
Kyle that he loves it, but I haven't talked to him since this last couple episodes because it went pretty downhill in the last 2 episodes. Like at least we had some kind of momentum, but like now I just feel like we have nothing. Once you got to Numenor,
it's
it's
kind of the
been
rhythm of playing in a video game.
yeah,
You just keep going around the town for too
yeah.
long.
Yeah, you already did all the side
Mm-mm.
quests. It's like I
Yeah,
guess you got to move on to level 2, you know, but they're only at level 1. But you know what I was thinking though? I hope that Mithril story isn't true. I hope like Sauron visited them and told them the lie or something like that. But I mean, I don't know who Sauron is at this point 100%. I really think it's Halbrand because he was on the raft. He came from the Southlands. He told Galadriel where Sauron's army was. He needed to get to Numenor. Like it just seems way too suspicious. And now he wants to forge stuff. He's working in the forge. Like we know Sauron's like a forger. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so it's pretty obvious to me. And it's at this point, if it's not him, I'm going to be like, well, it doesn't make sense for anyone else at this point.
that'd be cool if it was him. Like, I can run with that story. That's if you can look at it not as Lord of the Rings, and it's like okay, that's
Yeah.
fun.
It's like a
And
twisted fan fiction.
yeah, I feel like
And
even the video games, like which King of Agmar, are more according to the storyline.
well, yeah, because it is most definitely.
Mhm.
And this just makes me want to go back and watch the trilogy. I really want to do
Yeah,
a watch party. I think it might be fun, Britt, to do a watch party with the trilogy. It's on HBO Max right now. It's on Prime. It'll be
it's on
so much
Prime
fun to
too.
go back, watch this amazing trilogy, and just if people get into reading the books because of this show, it's a win. If people go and watch Lord of the Rings for the first time, it's a win. If they go
Right.
back to watch the animated series, it's a win still because the animated series are even better. Is better than this stuff. So, but then again,
Yeah,
they did have source material to go off of.
right. Like it is kind of if you like Middle Earth and you just like Middle Earth.
Yeah.
And like there used to be this website where people could like take on anonymous names and you can add to the story of Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
And it
interesting.
was it was a community where people were just but there was rules and regulations about like it had to make sense with the
Mm.
bloodline or blah 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 blah
Oh, okay.
blah. But you'd hear everyone just fan fiction pitch their own stories. So then when you look at it that way, I think it's cool because there's spin-off like little fun science fiction books out there.
Mm.
Like we get like Source of Magic or we get like Game of Thrones.
Mm.
So if you could just look at it as a spin-off science fiction, then it's fun. Just
Yeah.
like I said, it's kind of a rainy day thing to watch. I would say just binge it instead of like it's not something I want to look forward to watching every week.
Mm.
It's something that I would just binge through.
If you had to choose, though, would you want to binge the original trilogy extended edition or binge the show?
Of course, the trilogy.
And on that note, go follow cha.cha.cherry on Instagram. Super talented artist. Huge Lord of the Rings fan. I mean, we watched it so many times. So many times. We probably burnt out the DVDs. That's how many times we watched it. Go to AsArt.space for audio video links. We got cool shirts and stuff like that. Subscribe to stay updated. I know me and John are planning on filming the Return of the King animated series review pretty soon.
Ooh.
Woo, 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 woo. So subscribe for that. And if you like our stuff too, go check out. We broke down the whole animated series, comparing it to the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson series. No comparison, but it was so much fun comparing. When the Balrog's basically man, bear, pig, it's the best. So, we'll see you on the next AsArt. Subscribe, like, and share, precious. Yes.